I've given you a brief structure of the time allocation for a behavioral interview, and as you can see, the basic rule is the chunk of the time must go in work history because that's what you're looking for. What did this person do, actually do, results, metrics, and so on, which is the uh, best indicator of what they are likely to do once they come work for you. Now we have different things, sources of information. I'm giving you just one example. So work history, education, self-evaluation, and so forth. And in work history, look for the accomplishments and transitions, right? What did they do and why did they change? The reasons that they give you for transition are often good indicators of attitude, and they can have a critical bearing on your hiring definition. In This appears to both. This applies both to work history as well as education. In self-evaluation, you are looking for ambition, but usually people have this thing of saying, "Oh, next 5 years I want to be sitting in your seat." Well, I get up and sit now. What's five? I mean, that's like so. Don't get taken in by that kind of stuff. So you're looking for ambition, but with realism and the willingness to accept development needs, the willingness to also understand that you have to work hard, you have to, show results and so forth. And look for a game plan for self-improvement. Do they have any plan in terms of enhancing their own skill levels, enhancing their own learning and so on? And do they have a track record of having pursued that in the past? This is very important because if a person is not spending their time and money, I'm not talking about going to company-sponsored training courses. Those are bonuses. But their own time and money, if they're not willing to spend on themselves in order to enhance their own skill level and their own understanding and their own education, then that is not the person you want to hire. What kind of books are you reading? What books do you read? How many do you read in a month, in a year? What are name some books that you read in the last 1 year, in the last 1 month? So all these kinds of these questions, and then of course depending on what they tell you, what they read, it gives you an idea of their own understanding, their own philosophy. As far as interests and avocations, these are indicators of team working ability, social responsibility, and they give us useful information about the ability to create a work-life balance and the ability to cope with stress. Now, very important, get the candidate to talk and let the candidate keep talking. So, sell the importance of mutual candor. Let's say, look, this is not we're not trying to trap you here, we're not trying to seduce you into accepting this job either way. Let us be frank because it's important for us to be open and not have surprises for either party, when and if you join. That's why the comprehensive opening statement is a good way to achieve this, and by way of explaining to both parties why it's important to talk and important to be frank with one another. Now, by all means, develop a comprehensive opening statement for yourself as you go forward. It will be a useful thing to do. So, few things in terms of getting the person to talk. Number one is the opening statement. This is the reason we want to make sure that we have all information. We believe that the more information we have, the better decision we can take, and therefore please be frank, please be open, feel free to say whatever you want to say, all of this kind of stuff. Second thing is open-ended questions. The difference between an open-ended and a closed-ended question is open-ended question is one that cannot be answered just by saying yes or no. Did you go to the Maldives? Well, that's a closed-ended question. Yes or no? When you went to the Maldives, what is it that you liked about Maldives? Now, this cannot be answered with yes or no, so the person is going to give you more information. Did you ever have to deal with a difficult boss? Yes or no? Closed-ended. Don't ask that. When you dealt with a difficult boss, How did you deal with a difficult boss? If you are advising somebody about dealing with a difficult boss, what would you advise them? That kind of open-ended questions. The idea is we want to try to get as much information as we can from the individual. Facial expression, and I know it's difficult to, this is where you need to have some practice, and that's why try and practice before a mirror. Keep your face neutral, friendly. Don't scowl. Sometimes we do things unconsciously. We're not aware of that, but that's why it's important to do this kind of stuff, practice in front of a mirror, which gives you a better feel for it, or have somebody look at you and maybe give you some feedback later on. Posture: sit in your chair, erect, relaxed. Voice also soft, confident. Don't become aggressive. Gestures, basic general sort of confident gestures, deliberate. Don't do distracting things. People have a habit of pulling this, pulling that, pulling the ear, whatnot. Hand before the face, or the leg is shaking like this, as if you've got some Parkinson's or something. Don't do things like this. Do not make any distracting gestures or distracting mannerisms. So in an interview, the more self-aware that you are, the better off you will be. As I mentioned, ask open-ended questions. Don't talk for more than 15%. We say 15%, these are all numbers, but point being, minimum talk from you, maximum from the other person. Be as non-judgmental and neutral as possible. Be aware of your expression. Don't telegraph desirable answers, right? I'm sure you like to come early to work. I'm sure obviously, what do you think the person is going to say? I'm sure you don't mind if you stay back a little bit once in a while. So things like never translate. What is your opinion about staying back after work if you have to? Instead of putting it in a way where you are telegraphing an answer. Encourage confidence. You please be as frank as you can. Tell us things as you are. We are going to be as fair as possible. We are not prejudiced in favor of or against anybody. Things like this. And very, 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 very important. Notes. Please do not do any interview where you are not taking notes. You must absolutely take notes. I'm going to go quickly through all these steps. The introduction, 5 to 10 minutes. 10 minutes is probably long, so try to keep it short. Relaxed atmosphere. If you have the time, especially senior manager interviews, offer some tea or coffee or something if they want to drink, and maybe some water. No interruptions. Make sure of that. They can only happen with you because it's your office. So make sure you don't have any interruptions. Don't start off the introduction with the job itself. Make sure the atmosphere is friendly. Open-ended questions. Your statement being, the importance of being frank and candor, and then make your opening statement. Please understand, a tense atmosphere is self-defeating. It's not an interrogation. It's not a crime investigation. Keep it relaxed. Keep it social. Keep it relaxed. Keep it friendly. The global question, as I said, please make sure. Please develop your own words, your own language. The idea is the statement is meant to clear the mystery about the process of the interview and set the stage for candor and honesty as your approach. It tells the individual that it's in their best interest to be frank and open and be themselves. No play acting, so that good information can be shared, which will be useful for both parties to see whether or not they have a good fit. This is in everybody's favor. So you say that, for example, you might say, we believe that the more we can learn, the better we can fit the person. to the job. So therefore, I want you to tell me everything you can about your work experience, education, other interests, and try to be as frank and open as possible. And then we go through the whole job, the work history, 30 to 50 minutes. Why did you start with your, you might say, well, start with your last job or start with your earliest job. Why did you take the job? What kind of job was it? What were you supposed to do? Duties and responsibilities, accomplishments. Did you win any awards? Did anything special happen in that sense? And then look for analytical ability. Why this? Why that? Did you solve any problems? Did you take any initiatives? Did you start any projects? What did you like about the job? What did you not like about the job? And then when they transition to the next job, tell me, well, why did you change? What was it? What did you get promoted? Did you decide to leave the company? What happened? And in terms of your leadership experience, how were you with your superiors? How did you supervise anybody? How did you find that experience of supervising other people, being responsible for other people's work? How do you take to if you are given independence? How did you like that being independent? Did that frighten you in any way? Actually, I don't want to ask that question, did it frighten? Because again, it becomes a closed-ended, yes, it did, no, it didn't. You say, well, what do you find about being independent? What do you find could be, I don't want to use the word frightened, but you know what I mean. What would have caused you some tension, perhaps? What was it that you really liked about it, and so forth, and then ask, of course, in terms of any career changes, any changes of path. Why did you change that, and what happened? And then how did you do each job? And then do this for each job, like dislikes, and then summarize. And then you move forward. Now, be very important. It's very important to understand. Be comfortable with silence. Ask a question and keep quiet. Tell me something about your first job. Zip up. Don't say anything more. What happens with a lot of people is that the other person, when you ask a question, he or she needs to think and come up with incidents and come up with details to talk to you. That takes time. Now people get anxious, the speaker gets anxious, the interviewer gets anxious, and then he will ask question after question after question to try to... tell me about your first job. Where was it? Which place? No, don't ask any more questions. Just ask one question, zip it up, and wait for the person to answer. Make sure your face is friendly. Look at the person. If you want, maybe write a couple of notes in your book. But leave that person alone. If they need to ask you, they will ask you. Right? People, when they are thinking, some people they shut their eyes. Some people they look up. Some they look down. All of this will happen. It doesn't mean they are telling you lies. It doesn't mean they are cooking up anything. It's just the way that you're trying to access the hard drive in your brain. So make sure you give them that opportunity. Be genuinely interested. It's not about pretending. Appear to agree or understand. Again, you're not deceiving anybody. They say something, yes, no, yes, no. Don't get shocked. Don't show disapproval. Oh my God, how can you say that? Oh, I didn't realize this. No. Be clear, be open, and say that. Reinforce and reward. Oh, thank you very much. That's interesting. Oh my God, did you do that? Amazing. Must have been exciting. I'm amazed. You did this fantastic thing. How old were you? Oh wow, fantastic. This way you are getting them to open up and talk down. If they say and talk more, and if they say something which is kind of unfavorable, just leave it. Don't argue. Don't get involved in that. You can form your own opinions later, but expressing disapproval of any negative judgment tends to discourage people from talking. So if they read something, oh my God, you did that? How could you have done that? That's it, the end of conversation, right? So Open that. It's an interview. It's simply a place for you to get information, nothing else. It's not, you're not there to exchange ideas, you're not there to socialize, you're not there to convince or influence the candidate, you're not there to convert them to your way of thinking, nothing. You're just getting information. And the more information you can get, the better off you are. In education, again, maybe 15 minutes or so. So thank you very much for that, which is the work experience. Now let's come to your education. From your high school up through college, tell me about what did you learn, what subjects did you do, what kind of grades did you get, any special accomplishments, if you chose some grade, why, and so on. Some people might say, well, I just did the subject, this was the curriculum, so I did that. Okay, let's move on. But if they were able to choose why this, why that, what other options were there, you did not choose a particular thing, why not? Right? For example, you might say, I had five. We had the option of several languages. Which languages? You chose this one. What is the reason? Why did you choose that one? But don't say, why did you choose that? No, very nice. Oh, fantastic, excellent. So you chose to learn Spanish. Why Spanish? You could have learned French as well. Oh, I live in America, so Spanish is spoken more than French. If I had lived in Canada, maybe I would have chosen French. Yeah, okay, that's great. That makes sense. So that kind of stuff. What were the best subjects? What were the poorest? Grades, rank, scores, extracurricular activities, leadership roles, all of that kind of stuff. Did you, if you were on a sports team, did you coach? Did you have the opportunity to coach? Were you coached? How was your experience of being coached? How was your experience of coaching if you had done that, and so forth? Right? You're basically looking for reasons why they chose things, why they did things. Then we come to a very important, I want to explain to you. Listening is an absolutely critical element as far as good interviewing is concerned. Inexperienced interviewers get anxious, as I mentioned to you, with silence. And while the interviewee is thinking about their question, they interrupt with new questions in order to clarify, which is their assumed misunderstanding. This slows down the whole process. And very often it even telegraphs the kind of answer you may like to get. And lo and behold, you get it. So people need to think and they recollect incidents from the past, which is what you ask them to do. So let the silence remain. If, however, you find that there is a genuine lack of understanding, then ask, would you like me to clarify anything in my question? If they say yes, rephrase the question. If they say no, leave it. But don't assume that they need some clarification and then ask question after question. I've seen this happen too often, so don't do that. Now, I call these my 7 keys to listening. Number 1, don't talk. As far as possible, talk as little as possible. Number 2, as I mentioned to you before, a person will look away, look down, look up, shut their eyes. Be prepared for that. You don't have to do anything. Don't interrupt with another question, and keep on taking notes. It's very important. Now, when you're taking notes, write down what the person said. Don't write your reactions. Right? This is not an assessment phase. This is the information gathering phase. So make sure that you are doing information gathering correctly. Don't get into I like this, I don't like that. No. Then smile, look encouraging, nod. Don't telegraph your internal reactions, agreement, disagreement, like this, like nothing. And then be comfortable with silence. So this is very, at the risk of repeating, I'm saying this because I've seen these mistakes happen again and again. So please make sure that you don't make those mistakes. Then we come to the self-evaluation part. Again, 5 to 10 minutes. Now, here you are listening for sincerity and ask yourself, how will I know the person is being sincere? Number 1. Number 2, you're also looking for a person's genuine desire to improve themselves, to learn more, which means a humility that, yes, I need to learn. You don't want, you want to see if the person is an arrogant person who feels they know everything, because that can have problems in your workplace. So tell them, when thinking back about your jobs, what do you think a job must have to give you satisfaction? Tell me about a job in which you are most satisfied. Why were you satisfied? The opposite. Tell me about a job in which you were not satisfied. Why were you not satisfied? What do you think would be your major strengths? How do you arrive at that? Why do you say that is a major strength? Give me an example where you use this strength in your workplace, in your social life, at home. Do you think you have some development areas? Don't use the word weakness. Weakness is a kind of negative word. Development area. Which areas would you like to develop more? What have you done to develop those areas? What's the some evidence of the person having spent some time, energy, money, resources to develop themselves? So that's what you're looking at. Then we come to finally follow-up questions. Any reminders? Any clarification you need? So decide what more you need to know. This is where note taking becomes a big asset for you, because it gives you have written the data, and it gives you pointers to what more you need to probe in, which areas you need to ask more questions and get more information. Then other interests. What do you do other than work? Why is that interesting? What are you doing today that will help you to achieve your ambition? Why is it important for you to do this kind of work? And so forth. So I usually like to look for what we call extension motivation, which is the willingness to help, the willingness to volunteer, some evidence of the person showing interest in the overall community, in society, in the town that they live in. For example, do you volunteer in the school? Do you volunteer in the library? Do you volunteer for any public things that happen? And so forth. So these are things which are important to ask. Then finally, to the end, beware of making promises that you cannot keep. It's very important. Sometimes recruiters make all kinds of promises. They have no authority to do that. They do that. People are the interviewee is absolutely delighted. He thinks he's come to heaven, and then later on, once they are hired, a few months into the job, a year or two, they discover that all of this was just window dressing, and it was a demo version, and actually life is not that easy, and we have trouble. So once you've come to this stage, now you make your final sales pitch, where this is the job, this is why we want you, and so forth. Be real, don't overpromise, underdeliver, and then close by saying what's going to happen next. So this is the first interview. You're going to go through a second one before the decision is made, or this is the interview. We will write back to you, and you will get a reply within 7 days. Whatever is your state, please mention that. Don't create, don't overstate reality, or understate reality, or create imaginary scenarios in your anxiety to appear attractive as an employer. Say it like it is. If you have to err, then do on the conservative side. That is always much better. And then say thank you very much. If there is a next step that you need them to take, then tell them what that is. Tell them by when they can expect to hear from you, and also tell them if there is any additional information if they need to provide to you, and then say, is there anything that you would like to ask me about this job or about the company? And once it's over, say thank you very much for coming and spending this time with us, and then stand up and walk them to the door. Don't sit there and send them away. So this is very important. The most important thing, the holiest of all laws, take notes. This is very, very important. If you don't take notes, remember you can be assured that you will make a bad choice. So do not do that. It's absolutely critical to take notes. Now, about good note taking, just some pointers, some thought share. Number one, write their words, actual words. Don't write your interpretation. I think he is afraid. No. Write the actual words, because when you are analyzing after that decision-making point, those words will give you clear pointers. Second one is write your questions, especially follow-up questions. What question did you ask? Write that question also. Then write any new things that they say. Especially if they said something in the beginning and then they change that, make sure you make a note of that. And of course, you can let them see that you are writing. Don't put the pad under the table or something. And always first seek permission to take notes, and you say why. I mentioned this in the beginning of this video as well, but that's very important to do that. It's a legal requirement as well. If you're going to be recording something, remember, it is illegal to record without the person's knowledge. So don't try to just turn your phone on and leave it there and record it. That is illegal. You can get yourself into some serious legal problems. Don't do that. If you need to record, tell them, do you mind if I record something to help me to record? If they say yes, do it. If they say no, don't do it. Now, here are some open-ended probes, some wording that you might like to use. So, just want to share that with you. For example, say, tell me how you managed to do this. How do you feel about that? What led you to do that? Open-ended. You were happy in this job. What made you happy? You were unhappy. What made you unhappy? Invite the probe is an invitation for the candidate to delve deeper and give more detail so that you have more information. Now, please remember, be patient and allow for the behavior like looking away, looking down, this, that. All this will happen because people have to collect real life incidents and make sure they have real life incidents to give you. As you go forward, develop your own probes depending on the kinds of jobs you hire for. If you have been taking notes, all you need to do is go back into your notes and look at them, and you will get enough probes, and you will get the best responses for them. To contrast between closed-ended and open-ended, as well as what I call hard probe or direct and softer, which is always better. Why did you leave the job? That's like instead of saying what made you look for a change. Why do you think you had trouble with your boss? What were the areas of difference with your boss, with your supervisor? So things like put it in different words, the same thing, but which is more soft and which is more open-ended. Softer questioning opens up helps the person to open up more and to talk more frankly, whereas hard questioning puts them on the spot. So, for example, why did you take a pay cut? Instead of that, saying what were the advantages in the new job that made it worth the pay cut? That kind of a question which is softer and helps the person to speak more. Now, there are 3 or 4 key mistakes that people make. One is selective attention, which is that hearing only some things which fit your hypothesis. As I told you, the first impression is a dangerous thing. So if you have a positive impression about somebody, then you listen to only positive things, or vice versa, right? Or undervaluing positive information, oversensitive, negative, and so on. So clear your mind and focus on the interview. If your mind is occupied with something else, then you will lose attention and you will lose good information in the interview. Second one is selective judgment, which is prejudices, the way prejudices color our perception. So as soon as you see the person, you decide, this guy is no good, or somebody who dresses like this can't be any worth anything. Oh, fantastic! This person looks like the ideal person to be the CEO of the company. Don't form these impressions. Making decisions too early. That's why they say that in a 1-hour interview, untrained interviewers, I mentioned this before, I'm repeating it, untrained interviewers make up their mind in the first 3 minutes, and then they spend the next 57 minutes justifying their original assumptions that they made. This is a very, very bad thing to do, very easy to do, and very common, so don't do it. So selective attention, selective judgment. The third one is, there are two things. One is called the halo effect, and the other one is called the contrast effect. The halo effect is when you allow one quality, for example, an attractive person, now you allow that attractiveness, well dressed, handsome, nice, looks nice, a good demeanor, good face, good smile on the face, confident, and now this overshadows everything else. So you automatically, unconsciously, you assume this person is also trustworthy, also efficient. Remember, the greatest con men in the world and con women are the people who were able to get the confidence of the people very quickly. So they became very trusted, and that's how they were able to defraud them of millions. So it's just because a person looks trustworthy doesn't mean that they are trustworthy. Whether they are trustworthy or not is for you to find out in the interview by eliciting more and more information. So make sure you check for everything instead of making costly mistakes. First impressions are lasting impressions, and from the interviewer's perspective, they are very dangerous. So don't discount it and don't swallow it. Keep it where it is, and then check for every one of those things. Contrast effect is the opposite, whereas hirers tend to assess candidates based on their perceived quality of other candidates. So if you have a bunch of bad candidates in a day, a person who's kind of slightly good will look much better than normally what they would have looked like. Like as this is among the blind, the one-eyed man is king. But the reality is that he also has one eye. Doesn't have two eyes. So people appear to be better or worse based on who else you interviewed in that day, in that time. So beware and be aware of this and consciously assess each candidate on their own merits. Be aware that this halo effect and contrast effect are very important things which happen. Finally, influence of misleading signs. So a person's glibness, the way the clothes they wear, whether they have a beard or don't have a beard, depending on your own your own preferences. Their clothing, the way what kind of clothing they are wearing, your own culture, your religion, your prejudices, your lifestyle, your language, all of these and more influence you to choose or not to choose a candidate, which has nothing to do with the candidate's actual suitability. So you need to be prepared with your questions and you must take notes. The bottom line is that interviewing is the single most powerful process for creating and influencing organization, climate and culture, because the kind of people you interview and you hire, these are the people who are going to make the kind of organization you want. So if you hire the wrong kind of people, you are destroying yourself. So it's very important, therefore, to spend the time that is required and to deal with that interview with the seriousness that it needs, because the effects last a very long time. I say this to people all the time. When they say, oh my God, I have to spend an hour and a half with one person, I say yes, because that one person is going to spend the next 15 years with you in your organization, building it or ruining it. So make sure that you are not the reason why the organization gets spoiled, gets a bad hire. The cost of a bad hire is way, way, way more than the cost of spending an hour and a half in a good interview. As I mentioned before, interview is not only about hiring, it's about brand building, and it's one of the most cost-effective ways of brand building. That's why I want to end with this. The best interview is when the one you did not select becomes your best brand ambassador. Finally, those of you interested, this is my book, Hiring Winners. It's on Amazon, and you need the link there. Most welcome. Please read. Please watch this interview. Share with us your comments, and I hope you find this useful. And if you need anything more from me, I'm here. Thank you very much, and thanks for spending this time with me.